we finally were able to get ourselves a sponsor. Now, it's been a long road. It's been about 3 years now of grinding, and I'm excited to announce that Hepius is now sponsoring the podcast. Now, I will be doing 30-second ad reads at the start and at the end, kind of like your typical podcast. That's kind of the normal things. So let's get into it. Hepius. Number one place to go for premium CBD that's not going to break your bank. Very, very low prices compared to all the other competitors that are around. It is locally owned and sourced here in Utah, and it is work safe, meaning there is no THC in it, so you don't have to stress about that. They have something for everyone, and I personally use the No2 Broad spectrum. Now, for me, it kind of wakens me up, perks me up, gives me some energy, makes me a little bit more focused. Now, head over to hepiusmed.com. That is HEPIUSMED.com. Thank you. Aidan, I have been anticipating this podcast for a while, and I am extremely excited because
the myth, the legend.
Exactly. You know, you get when you have people who come on the podcast regularly, you talk to them regularly, and they kind of get into talking about other people in their life. You just want to get to know them, and you, sir, are number one on that list in my eyes for several different reasons. Now, I know some viewers are wanting to know specifically a couple of things, but we're going to get into that much later in the show. Welcome.
Oh, thank you. I'm happy to be here. Yeah, I've been wanting to get on the podcast for a while. I swear to God, okay? Holly gave me your contact information so I could get on like 6 months ago.
Okay.
I totally forgot I had it.
Happens.
I know. I'm sorry. When I found it again, I was literally in the middle of texting you, and it was this big, long text where it's like, I'm Holly and Kaz's roommate, and it was a whole introduction. And do you remember my first text to you?
Short and brief.
It was, okay, it's time.
Yeah, it's time. It's time. And I saw it, and I didn't know that I had you on Snapchat, to be honest with you. And I saw the name like, oh, it's definitely time. It's fucking time. There's nothing better than getting that as the first message talking to someone. I'm like, oh, let's fucking go.
I know I've been talked about a little bit, and I'm happy to clear it up. The face reveal's done.
Yeah.
This is what I look like.
Beautiful, by the way.
Chad. Absolute.
Mega Chad.
I had the thunder thighs to prove it.
Now, I know aside from like the funny stuff, we do have a couple topics we want to discuss that are a little bit more personal and kind of, specific to Utah, I guess you could say. I've been going on like a spree lately of getting people on who want to talk about, living in Utah. Because for those of you who don't live in Utah and you start hearing these stories, you're like, what in the fuck is going on in that state?
We sound like a weird Midwestern Alabama, honestly.
we really do. And the one that I always get shit for is people are like, oh, you can't buy alcohol at like a gas station? No, we can't. Absolutely not. And that's just the tip of the iceberg.
That's the worst part, dude. The liquor stores close early. You can only get certain amount of liquors. We don't have nearly as many, near as wide a range as other states do.
Nope. And we don't get to partake in a lot of these cool exotic beers that are coming in.
Dude, you can't get a Four Loko here. You can't get Four Lokos here.
Right. Unless you dabble in like, some cross-state.
Yeah, weird Wyoming. You gotta go over to Wyoming if you want to get anything like that.
Now, what I want to know, though, is, so you're 18, 19, right?
I'm 19.
You're 19. And the reason why you're here is because Holly and Cass, who are regulars. Cass, they both do their Holly and Cass mess around. Holly and I do True Crime Junks, and then we all do Read Between the Lines. And you've kind of... Big fan.
Read Between the Lines, I love watching that.
And that one's always just a blast. Because it usually ends up being like, man, this book's crazy, and then 2.5 hours of just utter...
complete chaos.
Yeah, complete chaos.
It's wonderful chaos.
I guess my question to you is like, where did the connection happen to become their roommates? And then like, how has that dynamic been? Because now you are the only guy that lives with
Cass and Holly.
Cass and Holly.
Yeah. Honestly, Cass's brother is my best friend.
Oh, okay.
Was my best friend for a long time throughout high school. He still is. Me and him are very close. He's on his mission right now.
Oh, okay.
Another very Utah thing that you don't hear outside of Utah. He's out on his mission, and while he was out, saw a Snapchat post from Cass. I need a roommate, $400 a month. Text me, and I texted her, and then she was like, "Hell yeah, let's get you in here." Because I met her once before. She was babysitting me.
Really?
Not like an actual babysitter, but
yeah, I got you.
she was sitting me.
Yeah, taking care.
Yeah, she met me once before, and then she had another proposal from another person, but nobody in the house really wanted her as a roommate. Mm-hmm. So I remember I came over one time, and they were just like, "Here's the house, here's your room.
There you go.
Yeah, if you want to join, it'll start up in April." And I was like, perfect. Honestly, not a great time to move out, because, you know, the world kind of ended.
Yeah. Pandemic started.
Yeah, in April, that's when it kind of hit hard, and I was like, I hope I'll keep my job. And that's 4 jobs later.
Oh, shit.
Not in a bad way. I'm doing way better than I was doing before. Good. So, you know. After that, when I moved in, there was me, Cass, Holly, and Nate. Mm-hmm. Now Nate's gone. It's just me, Cass, and Holly. Honestly, it is like an acid trip living there sometimes. I will wake up at like 6 a.m. to Holly and Cass giggling in the kitchen, like eating weird snacks. Like one time I've seen them chewing on baguettes. I've seen them chewing on just weird stuff. And I just come out, saunter out like it's some weird cartoon show. And then we all just like dance at each other. I'm not even joking. It's a weird acid trip, but it has been so much fun.
Well, I actually was just recently, Cass came on and did an episode where we kind of talked about Utah religion, LDS, mm-hmm. and she told us of the sea shanty day.
Pirate Day.
Yeah, Pirate Day. And that right there in my eyes is just like, you guys all 3 had COVID, right?
I was done with my COVID.
You were done.
They had it.
They had it. And it was just an impromptu, let's throw some sea shanties on like you do. Dress up.
It didn't start. It started with just sea shanties. We're like, man, we're really vibing with sea shanties today.
Yeah.
And then within the hour, we're like, okay, we're gonna go dress up. I'm gonna go get some juice. We're all gonna have a fun time. Then we're gonna meet up back here in like 20 minutes. Yep. And that's how the night started. Right. And then we had another friend come over, and we forced him to dress up because if all of us are, he can't be the only one.
Yeah. You either do or you leave.
Or you leave.
Now I did hear the awkward situation of Holly's boss showing up.
Oh, I feel bad. Okay, let me just preface this all by saying I feel really bad because she told us before he came over, she was like, my boss is going to be coming over. He's just going to drop off some stuff and leave. So I was expecting him to ring the doorbell, drop it off at the door, and walk out.
Yeah.
I hear doorbell ring. Holly runs off to the bathroom because she needs to go to the bathroom. I open up the door, and he's just standing right there. He's like, hi, I'm Holly's boss. Is Holly here? And I'm in a full pirate getup, like everything. I have the super wrinkly button-up white cream shirt. I have almost leather pants, almost, but they're black. And I just go, let me go get her. And I just run to the bathroom. I just really loud knock on the door. I'm like, Polly, he's here. Polly, he's here. And she was like, oh, shit. As he's standing out in front of the doorway, you can see the hallway right from the front doorway. Holly then jumps without pants on across the hallway. Like, I've never seen her move that fast before. I couldn't tell that she did it. She had to tell me she did it because after I didn't notice that it was that fast. She jumps across totally pantsless, and then I just like walk over inside the family room, and I'm like, hey, it's cold outside. Do you want to come in? And he's like, sure. I totally shouldn't have even said that. We had liquor bottles in the family room.
Sea shanty's still playing.
Sea shanty's still playing. We had to tell Alexa to shut up once he came in. And Holly just came out in sweats, not dressed up as a pirate anymore.
Oh.
But everyone else was. All of us were dressed up as pirates, but she was totally normal and chillaxed.
I feel like she kind of dropped the ball, because if she would have kicked the door down and then like came out in pirate garb and started talking like a pirate,
just right at his face.
If I was her boss, immediate raise.
Oh, yeah.
You got the gumption.
You got that customer service, I can already tell.
You are the one that is going to really bring this business to where it needs to be.
Exactly. And that's why I was confused from the beginning. I thought he was just going to drop it off and leave. I thought that was going to be the end of it.
Yeah.
And then he stayed at the front doorway, and I was like, it's really cold out. It just barely snowed. And I was like, do you want to come in?
Right.
And
I mean, you're doing the nice
thing, but afterwards, I gotta yelling from Cass and Holly. They're like, "How dare you? How dare you, Aidan?"
God, I wish one of those moments where I just wish that I could be a fly on the wall and just see the fucking.
Have a video camera.
I want to see his reaction, just like walking that first step in and just alcohol and sea shanties about.
And I was, you know what? For me, not having a pirate getup. Like one dedicated for pirating. I'm very happy with how my costume came out. It was perfect. And we all it was impromptu, but it was...
Good time.
I've never seen Holly more drunk.
No?
Never.
I saw a video that she made of her, like, replying to someone, like, on Snapchat or whatever, and there were not many words.
A lot of syllables.
Yeah, a lot of syllables.
A lot of words.
A couple noises, and then
grunting. Yeah, for sure.
It's great though. Now, so I know that the room or the place you guys are all kind of separating. Mm-hmm. Where are you gonna end up? Do you think? Do you have plans for?
I do. So the plan differs. There's only going to be a 1 month difference between my two plans at the moment. I could go back, live with my parents for a month, save up some money, and then head back out. The other one is head straight over to Arizona. I got a brother-in-law over there, and he does electrician's work.
Oh,
shit! Want to apprentice me.
That's actually a great start. Yeah.
So when I heard that, I was like, yeah, I'll do that. Yeah. It sounds like a great start to already a crumbling economy.
Oh yeah. But I mean, that's one of those fields though where you start now.
You're always going to need an electrician.
Electrician, plumbing, welding, truckers, any of those fields. Like, I know when people think like, oh, I don't want to be working with my hands. It's actually really rewarding and
it's therapeutic, man.
It is. I've worked with my hands almost my whole life in some sort of facet, and I don't ever see myself not doing something at least on the side, because there's just, whether you're doing electrical work or you're construction or you're building something, whatever it is, when you get done with that and you look at it, you're like, wait, these tools made it, and there's just something special about it.
Yeah. Right now I work in a shipping company. I'm not going to name it specifically because I don't want anything social media to do with them. But definitely, for sure, when we're setting up these big old vans, like I'll do 18-wheelers, 16-wheelers, I'll fill them up with these boxes, and I have to pretty much set them up so they don't fall over. That's kind of like the whole point. But after a good 4-hour shift, and then I'm on my break, like I'll look at the truck that I've been in that entire day, and I'll just see that I've pretty much filled up a truck and a half by myself.
Yeah, it's rewarding.
It is. It's huge because I've worked remotely. Never again. Never again. I was scamming people for internet and phone and TV. Like, it's a scam.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and then I've worked in food, and
same.
Hell, if you haven't worked in food, I don't trust your opinion. Period. That's the end of it.
I agree, because there's something that you learn about working in food about just human beings.
Yeah. Oh,
the worst.
You are going to meet the most horrible people ever.
Yeah.
And you are going to have to smile and grin and bear it.
I remember younger me, I think I was like 16 or 17, working at a pizza place. Everyone could do the math and figure out where it was.
Yeah.
And I kind of did cooking / customer service. Like
Mhm.
it was just where the build, like how our layout was. Like you could literally cook right here and take phone calls right over there. Like it wasn't a big building.
Yeah.
So I remember getting a call from some gentleman. He's like, "Oh, I want pepperoni and some breadsticks. Make sure that there's marinara sauce. Blah 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 blah." Put in the order. Get a call back, like maybe 45 minutes, and this is the first thing he picks up. Are you guys fucking morons? And I was like, excuse me?
Those are the calls where you're like,
And he's all like, I told you, and I think it was you specifically, I wanted 2 fucking marinara. You guys didn't fucking, and just like blowing up. And I'm just sitting there like, I've always been the type that I just find stuff like that funny.
Yeah.
Because like I feel bad. Like his day is ruined because of marinara.
Because of pizza.
And I get it. He paid for it. He deserves it. Like whatever. But I mean, to blow up over marinara. Anyways.
Marinara.
And
not even the best sauce.
Yeah.
By the way.
Not even the top tier.
Not even the top.
And if you haven't got to experience those life lessons, your opinion is not valid.
I used to work at a sandwich making place. You can definitely do the math on that one. I'm going to tell you this story right now. You're not going to believe it.
Okay.
You're not going to believe it.
Okay.
With that area, this is in a nearby, Bountiful area.
Yeah.
We had a homeless gentleman come in, and we had a drive-through and everything, so I didn't even notice when he walked in. I was working in the drive-through. He walks in with a dog on a leash, and you can tell they're both very much homeless.
Okay.
He then proceeds to pick up the dog, puts it on the counter where we actually make the sandwiches, and then sicks the dog on us.
What?
He just screams, sick, sick, sick. The dog doesn't do anything. The dog's not trained. The dog just stands on the counter. Yeah, dog's totally fine. He then proceeds to leave, go into the bathroom, and then spend 45 minutes to about an hour in the bathroom with this dog that we now have on the counter. At that point, we picked up the dog, took it outside, and we tied it up against the building.
Yeah.
Again, I'm working the drive-through. I'm totally focused on my job, and about an hour in, we get a couple customers come to us. They're like, hey, there's somebody who's been in the bathroom for a long time. When you work at a sandwich-making place, there's people doing very illicit stuff in the bathroom.
Oh, for sure.
All the time. I found meth underneath toilet seats.
Yep.
I found cocaine baggies inside inside the water tank of the toilet.
Classic.
I'm like, why would you hide it there? Now you either got wet cocaine or shitty cocaine.
Yeah, well, you're not having a great time.
Story's not over. He then comes out of the bathroom in an hour, butt naked, completely nude, and proceeds to crab walk shit across the floor.
No.
Across the entire dining room floor. He does it, and it's not solid. I'll just tell you that.
Oh my god.
We can definitely tell he's
fucked up.
Oh, he's on something. We call the police. We call what are they called? Safety people.
Yeah.
Hazmat suits, bleach, all of it. We were told to bleach the entire building, top to bottom, throw out all the food that has been inside the building at that point, unless it was in the freezer.
Sure.
But anything open, pretty much, we have to throw out and completely start over. That place opened 24/7. It was one of the first ones in Utah that was open 24/7. Shit, I'm just getting more specific on that specific building.
Oh, Jesus.
And then we were closed for 2 hours.
That's it?
That's it.
That kind of gross.
No, that's super gross.
Yeah, that's fucking disgusting.
We were told we should have been closed for the entire day.
Yeah.
It's crappy boss, crappy manager.
Capitalism.
It was like 2 hours. He was like, wipe everything down with bleach and then open it back up. You could smell the bleach as you walked into the building, and it didn't make you want any sandwiches.
No, that made me probably walk out.
It's a very quiet shift after that.
What do you even say? Like, even joking, like, what do you say? Like, man,
I can't lie, I giggled.
Yeah.
As I saw it, I was like, I'm going to go to the bathroom and make sure there's nothing else in there, and then I'm off at this time, and at that time I am leaving. No one will make me stay longer.
I've never had anything that crazy. There's definitely been poop stories because, like, I think that is like what makes you like truly understand the worst like in people.
Just the filth that can literally come out of people,
and just the audacity. Because my poop story, the one that I remember the most, is when I was working at the same place. I, at this point, was the general manager, and I got, thank you, I had someone walk in, or like, an employee go into the bathroom, come back, and be like, hey, come here. And they pull me to the back, and they're like, hey, like, and they were like a nice, wholesome, you know.
Yeah. It was a customer that wanted the best for the employee.
No, not no, it was an employee who found it.
Oh.
Yeah.
It makes it even worse.
But here's the thing is he was like a 16-year-old, like very sheltered, like very Utah.
Another Utah thing.
Yeah. A very young Utah boy who
when you say innocence at 16, that's unheard of in any other state.
Exactly.
Here, that's the casual.
100% innocent. I'm talking like he'd call his mom and make sure that she's okay and tells her he loves her every hour. Like that type of level of innocence.
If he doesn't text her by the hour on the hour,
yeah, trouble.
His ass might get whooped.
Yeah. So he pulls me aside and he's like, hey, I just went in the bathroom and I don't know how to tell you this, but someone went to the bathroom on the floor. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, did someone like pee on the floor? And he's like, no. He's like, someone went like to the bathroom on the floor.
Specifically wasn't pee.
And I like looked at him like shit. And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, I like kind of was like, oh my God. Cause like, to the people who kind of know me, there's only one thing that grosses me out on this planet. And it's poop. I don't know what it is. Like, I grew up on like those crazy like websites, like seeing all these awful things, and like, you know, 4chan really makes you evolve as a human in not good ways.
At least you didn't say 9gag.
Yeah. Oh well, only like 2 times, and I was like, that's not the place for me.
I'm good.
Yeah.
I've had a couple of moments on the internet where it's like, you know what?
I don't need the internet.
My mind's morbid and all of that, but I'm good.
The forest. Like deep mountains seems really nice, right? Anyways, so that's always been my biggest like just thing that grosses me out, and I couldn't do it. I just was like, there's no way. So I pull one of my buddies and I'm like, hey man, listen, he just told me that like someone shit on the floor. Yeah. Will you go check for me? Because they knew, like, he was like one of my close buddies, and he comes in laughing. He's like, bro, someone definitely shit all in that bathroom. And I'm like, oh no. And he's like, it's not just like they like missed the toilet. He's like, they purposely shit in the middle of the bathroom.
This perfectly incorporates with the theme of Utah, because we do have both sides of the spectrum. The guy who will walk out of the bathroom and be like, they made an accident in there. Then the other dude's like, there's straight shit on the floor, bro.
Straight shit. So
I'm talking like forearm-sized motherfucker.
Yeah. So I did what anyone would do in that moment, and I passed that blame on to the company we shared the building with. So I walked over to them and I was like, hey, listen, we had the bathrooms locked on our side so they couldn't get in, and yeah, apparently someone shit in there. And the lady was like, what? And I was like, yeah, I don't know what we need to do. And she's like, well, we need to clean it. And I'm like, do you have anyone that would? And she's like, oh, yeah, I'll get some. I'm like, whoo!
Those are the troopers, man.
One for the boys. Because I couldn't. How am I, like, if I don't go and do it myself, I'm an asshole. The person
who does it has been there for 15 years. Yeah. Has done this before.
Yeah.
And is just like, you know what?
They haven't. They've seen worse. Yeah, they've seen worse. Because it was one of those situations, like, I couldn't tell one of my employees to go do it, because then I'm I'm an asshole.
Yeah.
I couldn't go and do it, because I would just puke everywhere, straight up.
Oh, it'd make it worse.
Yeah. And thankfully she had some trooper who was like, he came over, he didn't say many words to me.
Yeah.
And he was just kind of like, so bathroom? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, all right. And I'm like, oh, fuck, okay, dude.
The worst part about all of it, with the homeless dude in my situation, the store was full.
Oh.
It was lunch rush.
Oh, wait, so there was like customers?
There was customers in the store as he was walking.
Because this is the sandwich place that's by, like...
The ice cream place. The good ice cream place.
Okay.
The one that is a staple in Utah.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah. So I can picture, because I've been in there a couple times.
It's a small store.
Yeah.
But we had customers in there, and it became fireworks afterwards. We had customers throwing up. We had customers sobbing. We had customers, like, screaming at us for the manager. We had customers. It was a nightmare.
You could scream for the manager.
I was laughing the whole time. I was like, I'm not a manager. I'm part-time. I don't care.
I'll quit right now.
if you told me to clean it up,
Done.
You couldn't pay me. You
Done.
couldn't pay me enough to do it.
Wait, so my biggest thing is, like, did he get his dog?
The dog was outside, and after he left, we never saw the dog. We never saw him ever again. The police told us they found him. They got him.
Yeah, because he would be naked, right?
Oh yeah,
just walking.
He just walked away. He
and
left his clothing in the bathroom. I searched the man's clothing.
Anything of
plastic bags, of course.
Yeah,
empty plastic bags. We had heroin needles in the trash can.
Ah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Well,
this was of course, at this point I was still Mormon.
Okay.
I was still very religious, very, like, I'm not innocent. I wasn't innocent like most people, but I still had that Mormon foundation there. And, that was my first interaction really with drugs, like heavy narcotics.
Right.
It was just finding stuff in these bathrooms. And,
I think that's a big thing that people who listen in Utah really have to realize. That shit happens pretty regularly everywhere.
Everywhere.
Like,
it doesn't matter what state you're in.
Yeah.
You can't cover that stuff.
And I feel like Utah, though, in some specific areas, only gets, like, these random glimpses.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. In New York, if that happened in a New York subway, nobody would care. They'd probably have a dude calling for police.
Yeah.
That'd be it. Here, we had sobbing. It looked like a war scene in there. We had, like, people kneeling down, holding their babies, like, why? And all I could do was just kind of sit in the back and laugh and just be like, I'm gonna go shut down the drive-thru.
Yeah, we need to regroup.
We need a powwow, and then we need to get back on this once it doesn't smell like feces in here.
Man, I don't know if I could have handled that moment.
Oh.
That's like my work. Deep water, diarrhea shit from a man who's on drugs. That's like my two worst.
Cass's little brother was there with me. Me and him worked together in that building, and me and him, we just kind of fist bumped, and we're like, I don't get to work today.
Yeah, I guess you get a 20-minute break. I mean, not shout outs to your manager, though. You guys probably should have shut down.
We did. We shut down for 2 hours.
Yeah, for probably the day.
Not enough time. We were told the whole day, and then we totally just ignored it.
I would have got like one of those big fans and kind of directed it outside, get a little bit of that smell out.
There was no helping it, man. It was all the way from the bathroom to the outside.
Yeah. B. Bert, what's up? Sorry I missed your chat. She said, Karen, what the fuck do employees have to do with the man on drugs?
You aren't trained for those situations. You know those employee training videos? They need to have one where it's just like, okay, situation. Crackhead walks in and breaks an employee's arm. What do you do?
Yeah.
Because that definitely will happen at some point.
I worked at not for a long time, but I worked at a really kind of well-known gas station around here. And it was the one that's right off one of our...
The good slushies?
No, I wish. It's one of the exits, like one of the first gas stations off one of our biggest exits out here.
I know exactly.
Yeah.
Is it next to the steakhouse?
No.
Okay.
More this way.
Okay.
Yeah. That was one of the first days for me too, where my first interaction with like copious amounts of hard narcotics because I had to go clean the bathroom.
Yeah.
And usually bathroom right off of a freeway, like it's usually pretty gross. I go to empty the trash and we're talking like 9 or 10 dime bags of just black. And I didn't know what it was because like at that time, like, I I knew what things were, but I had never seen
I
anything
don't know
like
what
yeah.
it looks like.
And I go get my manager, and he's all like, he goes in there, he's like, nah, more black tar. And I'm like, what? And he's like, yeah, it's not the first time we found it here. Let's just, one of the, without giving too much information, one of the owners also is in law enforcement.
Okay.
So he came and handled the situation.
I know exactly who you're talking about.
Yeah.
Another thing in Utah. I know everybody you're talking about
Yeah.
all the time. I know exactly what you're talking about.
It doesn't matter where you're at, you know.
Yeah, you know.
So great transition.
Yeah.
I want to know, so you grew up Mormon.
Yes.
But you weren't as sheltered. So I want to get into like the depths of it. Like, how was the childhood for you? Like, were you...
I was raised rich Mormon.
Okay.
Filthy rich Mormon.
Okay.
Like 4-story building. I had an indoor basketball court, indoor gym and showers, indoor bowling ball alley, indoor, all of it. We had like 4 acres of land all to ourselves up on the mountain. You know,
North Salt Lake, like...
No, Bountiful.
Oh.
Up in the mountain, Bountiful. I'm talking like that rich area.
Yeah.
You know, I think Jack Black owns the building up there.
Yeah. That's what I've heard.
Yeah.
Never been able to confirm.
Yeah, raised super rich, and then 2008 hit, and then we were living in apartments, condos, and very humbling. I'm happy I was able to go through both. I'm happy I was able to
see both sides of it.
Yeah, definitely. I was raised Mormon throughout all of it. I left the Mormon church at 16, 17 around there. So only a couple years ago. But it was definitely fading when I kept on going into church. And I was just like, hey, going over to my buddies. And I was like, I'm going to go smoke some pot. You guys want to join? They're like, oh, we need to baptize you again. And I was like, oh, I'm good. And that was...
Okay, so... Because I have to wrap my head around. So you're 19.
Yes.
So you kind of... You're still fairly fresh out in the grand scheme of things.
Yes.
But it sounds like if you were smoking when you were like 16, like when do you think, because so far talking to you, we're what, like 30 minutes in, I can tell you definitely have your wits about you. You're very intelligent, articulate. So I can definitely see that being like an early age, like starting to notice some holes and question some things. Like, do you remember like a specific point where you're just kind of like,
A specific point was honestly, if you want to look it up, I know it's on YouTube somewhere. It might have been taken down. Honestly, for how big the church is, how much money they have pulling, it might not be there. Somebody has recorded a temple vow orientation thing. It's your vows that you do in the temple when you're getting
the handshakes and stuff.
When you're getting married.
Oh, when you're getting married.
Yes.
Okay.
And that, when I saw that, it was right after I heard about Ted Bundy and really that whole situation in Utah. And both of the things kind of gave me the same vibe. Just like, something's wrong here. Something I don't personally agree with.
Okay.
And to this day, I have nothing against what the Mormon Church teaches and what they practice, as long as it's not hurting anybody.
Absolutely. 100%.
I don't care. It's not for me. And honestly, for a long time, even after I left the church, I was like, I want to raise my kids in the church. It's a great community.
Oh, fantastic.
Amazing community. And it's good for the kids. Honestly, I give that up to most of my wits and my common sense. It's definitely just being raised in something innocent, but challenging. I
think I love hearing that perspective, because I do think that regardless of what people want to say about the church, the average LDS member is definitely more, they have their wits about them as far as like common sense goes.
Honestly, the nicest religious community I've ever met.
Oh, 100%.
Hands down, any Mormon ever will invite you in for dinner, no matter what you look like, no matter what you smell like, no matter what you're doing on the street. Hell, if you're smoking a crack pipe, they will invite you in for Mormon family dinner. Yeah. By the way, well, personally, it's good dinner.
It really is. These Mormon ladies around here know how to fucking cook.
They know how to cook really well, because they've all been on missions. And what that means is they've all been out of the country most of the time. And what that means is my mom was in Texas, so she worked with all the mamacitas. She got the Mexican cooking. My dad went to Chile, and then he learned how to make violin bows in France.
Oh, wow.
So my family's super culinary. Hell, food, favorite hobby, hands down.
I think that's the other thing that, even though Utah gets bashed for not being like, a lot of other states will say we don't have a culture.
We're vanilla white toast.
We're very vanilla white toast, but I do think that, like, on average, most people are more culturally, like, what's the word I want to use? They've broadened their horizons a little bit more because of missions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. And most of the people, see, if you're a woman, if you guys don't know this, you have an option to go on a mission or not. If you're a man, you kind of get shamed if you don't go on a mission.
Right.
It's some serious shaming in hell. It's a huge reason why, I never went back, was because I said I don't know if I'm going. And then after that, you know, my grandma almost disowned me. But it's something you kind of live through.
Yeah.
And that's another, I'm not going to say that's exclusive to Utah, but we get a lot of stories of kids kind of just being like, I'm not Mormon anymore. And then their parents, their own parents, just being like, I'm not paying for your schooling. Yep. I don't want to see you again completely until you come back to me Mormon. I don't want to have anything to do with you. And I've seen that multiple times.
Same.
And it's fucking traumatizing, that's for sure.
I think that's honestly where kind of this motivation for wanting to do this in my podcast has started, is because I had an individual on, I keep shouting him out. His name was Cole. He grew up, similar thing, like very LDS, very Mormon, never, you know, didn't falter at all. His dad was a bishop. You know, he went on his mission.
Bishop's children's, man.
Yep.
There's a whole stigma around those in the church as well.
Served his 2 years, came back, and he told all this on one of our episodes. You're welcome to go watch. It's a great... It really was one of those moments where I listened to it and, like, watching him talk, I was like, man, this is crazy. Like, I would get the chills listening to him talk about how, like, he just had this something in him that was just questioning and saying, this isn't for you, but do I do it because, you know, and I'm curious your opinion, like, a lot of people talk like they don't want to lose their community. They don't want to be shunned. They don't want to lose that family connection. And because it happens so much, a lot of people stick around.
Just because they're scared of leaving. And, you know, I want to be able to shine some light onto the people who do go and do make that step and kind of be like, hey, listen, like, I'm sure it's scary. I'll ask you. And, like, for some people, it's probably one of the most terrifying things you could do in their life, because we live in such a, you know, sheltered community. Like, leaving and potentially losing that community is terrifying, I'm sure, but it's possible. For me personally, I'm it's gonna sound religious. I'm very blessed.
Yeah.
I'm very blessed with how I kind of left the church.
Okay.
My parents were very accepting. They were just like, my parents are both still very religious. I wouldn't call them specifically Mormon, and I'm seeing that more and more now, especially during the whole COVID time, since nobody's going to church. The community kind of things have split up quite a bit. I'd say recently the church has been going downhill quite a bit. But when I left, my sister at the time, she's adopted. We're both the same age, 3 months apart. She had the same situation as well. Like, we both kind of left at the same time. And she was a little bit more aggressive about it than I was around my parents. And so she kind of softened the blow for me. Yeah. Because when I came out, they were just like, oh, all right, okay, just don't do crack. Right. Yeah. Don't do crack and be happy. Yeah. And I was like, okay. But again, there's extended family you got to worry about. I know I still have extended family that don't know. It's better and easier not to tell them. Sure. And I know a whole bunch of people that once they go out to college, especially around here, USU, even BYU. Oh yeah. They'll stop going to church and they just won't tell anyone. And that's the easiest way to kind of leave, is just kind of just stop. Yeah. And that's the hardest part for some people too, because there's this moral standpoint, and you always think you have the moral high ground, especially, but it's all bullshit. Yeah. It's all bullshit. The hardest question ever since leaving anybody could ever ask me is, are you religious? Are you spiritual? Okay. That's a better one than religious. Are you spiritual? And Yeah, I'm not superstitious,
Okay.
but I am spiritual. I know there's gotta be some good force in the world, and there's gotta be some evil, bad force in the world. And I kind of like to keep it vague, because if I keep it vague, and if I'm just a good person overall, I can't really lose, you know. And then all the religions will add these, requirements. You got to get baptized. You gotta pay your tithe. You gotta do all that to go to heaven. And if that's true, then whatever God they're following is an asshole.
I think that's where oh, what's up, Salty? Long time no see, my friend. I think that's where I kind of, because I grew up a lot different than a lot of people around here. I never went to church. My parents gave me 100% freedom of religion. We never talked about it, but they were always open to discussion if I were to bring it to the table, and they were never
were your
like
parents religious at all, or were they?
I would have to get a refresher, but I believe my dad was baptized Christian when he was younger, and then my mom was Mormon, and then just through the years they don't really practice anything. And they just kind of gave me the choice. There was never a stigma of like, hey, you can't go to church. There was never like, hey, you shouldn't go. It was always just like, this is what we do. Sundays used to be like, we talked about the Super Bowl before we started. Like, my dad and I would watch some football or hang out, and
Even though I'm not Mormon, Sundays are still spiritual for me.
Yeah.
And that's another thing you'll find around Utah. You don't fuck with Sundays.
Yeah.
Sundays are the day you relax. It's the day. If
peaceful.
You work on Sunday, it's weird.
100%.
And I do right now, but it's again weird. I go into work every Sunday and I'm like, I feel like I should be home.
And we're probably the only state where you could hear like, there's a lot of jobs that'll pay extra for people to work Sundays.
Or almost everything's closed Sundays.
Yeah.
Everything's closed Sundays, especially in the small towns, Bountiful, Woods Cross, Centerville.
I love when friends come out of state and they're like, what are we doing today? I'm like, bro, it's Sunday. We got McDonald's and Walmart. What do you want?
Got a mountain we can climb.
Yeah,
we got some hikes, I think. Matters. What's the weather like?
Yeah.
It's sunny. Oh, it'll be raining in 15 minutes.
Snow's on the forecast. I can smell it. No, but yeah, growing up like such a true freedom, I really, at a young age, like I saw a lot of my peers and friends like doing these things that I just didn't understand.
Yeah.
And I remember like specifically one of the weirdest moments for me. I think I was in 4th or 5th grade. I had a really good friend that like we were just tight.
Yeah.
And I went over to his house and we were just hanging out or whatever, and he got paid his allowance, which was like $10 or something. And his mom paid him in like ones.
Yeah. And
then we went down his room and like we were talking like, oh, like what are we gonna do? Like, cause $10 when you're in 5th grade is the whole world. Yeah, we'll take over the planet with $10. And he's like, well, hold on, I got to do something. And he digs under his bed and he pulls out the shoebox and he opened it up, and in there were bags of money.
Yeah.
And what it was all of his tithing. So even his allowance or any money that he made, he was separating it out in tithing. Yeah. And that moment, because I was, 5th grade me, like I hadn't even known what tithing was. Mm-hmm. I was like, oh, are you like saving? He's like, oh, it's tithing. And I'm like, what's that? And he's like, oh, well, you have to give, like when you make money, you have to give some of it to the church. And I was just like, why? He's like, oh, that's just what we do.
And again, asking that from a kid, of course, that's going to be the first response. Yeah. I don't know, but that's just what I've done my whole life.
And I remember coming back and asking my dad, I'm like, what does tithing mean? He's like, why? And he's like, well, and I explained the story, and he's like, well, certain religions just kind of cost money. Was his best explanation for a 5th grader.
It's too expensive to preach.
Yeah, there's no such thing as free. And that was when I really started like, okay, well, I know that they're Mormon, but what does that mean?
Yeah.
And then that's when I started diving in as much as you can as a 5th grader, trying to understand shit. And from an outside source, when you don't hear all the information when you're younger.
And if you don't hear it correctly, I do hear a lot of rumors where I'm just like, no, that's not true. We don't. The biggest one is we have horns. That's the one I've been to every state. I've heard it multiple times of people. Like, I've had people grab my hair just like looking for actual horns.
See, that was something that recently came to me that I did not know was a thing.
When it happened to me, at first I was completely confused why some stranger was grabbing at my hair, but afterwards I was just like, no, of course we don't have horns. And then the real weird part is the strangers just being like, that makes no sense to me. I've always heard that Mormons have horns. I've always heard that. And I'm just like,
who the fuck, what do you think we are?
We're people too. Like, yeah, of course, it's great to start bigotry that way by coming out with some stupid rumors.
And I mean, that's not the only one, right? Like, even me saying I'm from Utah, how many wives do you got? And
magic pajamas.
Yeah, magic pajamas.
Which I didn't know was mean. Because I said it in the church. I called them magic pajamas, though they are known as garments. If you ever say magic pajamas to a Mormon, you might anger them.
Yeah, you're
actually. I said it in front of Cass's mom, and she got quite livid.
Oh, yeah. Bieber says, a missionary told me that we only have dinosaur bones because Satan buried them in the ground to make us question God.
Yes. That's honestly, depending on the missionary. I know a lot of Mormons that have completely different viewpoints on different parts of the Book of Mormon, on the Bible. It's super weird how we're such a close community, but I've heard completely different things.
Yeah.
I hear from people, the dinosaur bones story. I've heard that multiple times. I've also heard the world is only 2,000 years old. I've heard all of that, but then I've also heard from completely normal people, like still to this day I trust within the church. They're some of the most trustworthy people, and they have some amazing viewpoints on stuff. They've just had very spiritual moments that have pretty much put them in a position to be a part of the Mormon church.
Yeah. I've
heard some serious horror stories of people talking about spirits, people talking about demons and stuff like that within the church. And hell, I've had a couple moments where I definitely could have been seen and stuff, but I don't know. It's difficult because I was young. It definitely could have been just a younger brain playing tricks on me.
Sure.
And of course, if I'm raised in superstition, I'm going to go to superstition whenever something weird or awkward happens.
I think that right there is one of the most important things that people need to really start realizing about just anything.
Yeah.
The way that you're raised and what you are taught to believe in is what you're going to go to when something happens that you can't explain.
I'm sorry, I just read, are they that raised from the people of Elf? Yep, you know it. We're all pretty.
Yeah, pink hair and some
Don't
tickle bitties and
Mormon girls, dude.
Yeah.
Even if you're not Mormon, you'll see the Mormon girls and be like, okay,
Utah State.
I go to church. I'll go to Singles Ward.
Singles Ward. I think that because I've had that realization a couple years ago when I started the podcast. But I'd have people on who have a really strong belief in either ghosts or astrology or religion or aliens or whatever it might be, whatever their backbone belief system is.
Yeah.
Whatever unusual thing happens to them is what they're going to think it is.
It's the first thing they rely on.
And I imagine for individuals it's very tough to understand or to have like an outside point of view.
An obsession? Shit, man, don't call me out like that. Like...
We've been practicing some soaking. I learned about that one not too long ago.
That's the weird one, okay? I never did it.
Right.
But I've always heard stories.
Yeah, good old soaking. Oh. I saw a fucked up meme that's probably really offensive, but it was like Mormons practice soaking because it's the actual art of like thrusting is what the sin is.
Yeah. And
the reason why they can soak is because Jesus is actually a T-Rex and he only can see in motion.
And that's the first time I've ever heard that one.
And the meme has a T-Rex with like white clothes on. He's like, where the fuck did they go? It's a really quality meme.
Honestly, I still, to this day, have some friends in the Mormon church, and I respect them for it completely.
Absolutely.
Oh, wait, before all that, I have to, Mormon girls, anywhere else, you just call them Visco girls.
You're right.
Hands down.
Yeah, you're right.
You call them Visco girls. So, hey, if you have a thing for Visco girls, come down to Utah. We got a lot.
Yeah. When you walk around during winter time and it's,
Oh, the bars, dude, with the Uggs.
Yeah.
And,
I was gonna say the Uggs, the black and gray
sweatshirts and sweatpants.
Yeah, sweatpants, and then occasionally like a leather Han Solo jacket.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of.
And they always have their always have their water bottle with them.
Yep.
Yeah.
Or
Heaven
a
forbid they don't
swig.
have that on them.
Gotta have a swig in your hand.
Oh yeah. Which again, another Utah thing. Soda and cookie places.
Dude,
For specifically candy, soda, and cookies.
Yep. Soda pop shops are huge in Utah, and I don't get it. Well, okay, I'm gonna lie. I was a big fan of Swig for a long time.
They're good. I'll give them that, man.
Yeah.
Getting a Monster mixed with another drink,
Yeah.
mixed with these different flavors. It's honestly like getting a smoothie or a
Mhm.
slushy somewhere. It's like that, but soda.
And I will give it one thing. There is definitely something fun about going to some of these soda shops that specifically like make their aesthetic kind of like the old like
Yeah.
70s, 80s like
Rollerblades
Yeah.
and all that. And it's fun.
yeah, it's fun.
It's fun. And then there's those ones where you can tell from the beginning they're not going to make it. Like
Yeah.
there's Swig and Fizz. And
Yeah.
they have blown up. You'll see them on
Huge.
every street corner in Utah pretty much.
They're buying out the markets. Too.
Pretty much. And then I remember there's one called Bottle Caps. That
Yeah,
was
I heard of
the
that one.
old... Was the place.
Yeah. They
Within the first month I could tell, oh, they're going out of business.
Oh yeah, they
There's
weren't
no
gonna
way.
last.
Because I never saw a single customer in there.
There was one down here by me that was they were their own soda pop shop, and they made a lot of great things. It was very similar to Swig and Fizz. And then I didn't go down there for like a month, and then now it's Fizz.
Yeah. Now it's
You know?
Fizz.
Let's see here. So Salty says, didn't know what soaking was, but the joke Jesus Christ only sees in motion, I think perfectly explained it. LOL. Amish culture. Oh yeah, they do similar things in the Amish culture when it comes to old
Yes.
penetration.
Yeah, we don't have the sheet. The
No.
bed sheet. We don't do that. I think.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't know everything. I haven't been through the temple since I was 12. And that's a big thing. You're Mormon, you go through the temple.
Mhm.
And that is like pretty much orientation, just like of what the actual religion is and what you're actually doing.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be honest, there people talk about what's the word I'm thinking of? Quiet, pretty much. Somber.
Okay.
Uh,
Like a word specific.
like a religious word of somber. I've heard it a million times in the
Yeah.
church, but I won't. It's just very quiet, and it's very spiritual.
hmm.
It's kind of like a place where you can just kind of be with your own thoughts and be by yourself.
like serenity, like
Reverence.
Oh,
reverence.
there you go.
Okay, reverence. God, I don't know how I couldn't think of that word, but I'm gonna tell you, it's therapeutic.
Yeah.
And you can definitely see the pros to it, but then you go to those weird bath bowls, the bowls and the baths, and then you see people getting baptized, and I've baptized people, and
That's interesting.
I've baptized people, and I wasn't old enough to know what I was doing in the church. That's the scary part.
Yeah.
Is that I had the permission, and still do, technically. I'm still an elder.
You could go back and
I could go back and walk into the temple. I need to get a temple recommend, but no, I really wouldn't. I've snuck in the temple multiple times without one. That's another huge thing, getting your temple recommend interview.
Okay.
That's, as a child, that's huge.
Like goals.
Because, no, each time you go in, they ask you very blunt questions. Do you touch yourself? Do you steal? Do you lie? They'll ask you all the way down the list. They'll ask you all of that, and if you say anything out of line, you either won't get your recommend, and you won't be able to go to the temple, which, if you can't go to the temple, you can't go with your family, which sucks.
Hmm.
Or your bishop then, takes you aside, and you and him figure it out.
That's so interesting to me because I didn't know that aspect of it. I didn't know that it was you wouldn't be able to go to your family if they're all passed.
Yeah, if they all got it, you can't get it.
Because that turns into even more kind of like
It's a bit culty.
yeah, it's a little bit and it's definitely
But
it's pressuring you into doing.
As a kid, I never saw it. I never even understood like what I was talking about when they asked me when do you touch yourself? I'd be like, I bathe.
Yeah.
But like, and then they're like, no, do you do it sexually? And then at that point, I don't know a single person that's said yes.
Right.
Like you're kind of forced into saying no, because if you say yes, you're screwed. And the big one for me when I was in that church, and the traumatic one, I'd say, I'd even call it traumatic, is if they'd ask you, you were lying. Are you lying? Do you lie? And multiple times for my final years in the church, I did lie on my temple recommendation interview. I did lie on it. And they'd ask you, are you lying? And then you kind of, sweat beating down your face, and you're just like, no, I'm not lying. And then they stare at you and blankly write on a checklist. I'm not even joking. They always have a list, a piece of a paper on a list, and then they're just checking it off. It's really, looking back on it, it's kind of crazy, but I was a kid. I didn't know what I was doing, and I'll just keep on using that as an excuse.
Right. It's just so interesting to me, like, because more and more like stuff that comes out that people, because that's the cool thing about where we are now is people who leave the church are becoming more vocal and talking about the things that either they felt are not handled the best way.
Yeah.
And hopefully with those communication lines, something will change. Because, I mean, we do hear a lot about when the conversation of, like, masturbation comes up. There can be, we've heard some really fucked up stories.
If you want to piss off a whole lot of Mormons real quick, ask about women in the priesthood.
Yeah.
That is, you are going to be either getting hands or you're going to be getting blessed within 5 minutes.
Yes, I've heard a lot about that, on top of the fact that, when you look back at how long it took them to allow anyone of color to be in the priesthood, you kind of like, ooh, that's...
Until, what was it, 1985?
It was 85 or 95.
95. Somewhere way too close.
Yeah, not good.
Mm-hmm.
Not good. And, everyone knows, if you guys don't know who Last Podcast on the Left is, they're...
Love them. Oh my gosh, I love them.
One of the, in my eyes, like, probably top tier podcasts in the world.
Oh,
they're so great. Their Mormonism series is
in depth.
It's very in depth, and I challenge anyone to go through that with an open mind and not come out with some questions.
Hell, that phrase gives me a little bit of PTSD. I challenge
every
priesthood meeting, which is where all the boys in a certain level of the priesthood, we can get into that, the levels of the priesthood.
Okay.
And that's based on your age.
Okay.
But whenever you exit your lesson, where they bring you in for an hour and they just talk about a lesson of the day, they always say, I challenge you. Every time I hear that now, I'm just like, don't challenge me on anything. Fuck you. No, fuck you. But yeah, as a kid, I think at 8 is when you're baptized.
Mm-hmm.
At 12 is when you get the Aaronic priesthood.
All right.
Which is for only boys. Only boys can get the Aaronic priesthood. And then at 14, you become a priest.
Okay.
Is it a teacher? You become a teacher, which is, these are all just titles pretty much for boys coming up. And then you're 16, you become a priest. Then when you're 18, you become an elder. When you are an elder, that's the highest you can get up, and that is also when you receive the Melchizedek priesthood.
Okay.
And that's the big one. That's the laying on of hands. That's the I can bless you and I can heal you of sickness.
Fully committed to...
Yeah. Once you have the Melchizedek priesthood, you've been through the temple. You've been through most of the vows, most of the stuff. And I never received it. Holy shit, I never received the Melchizedek priesthood. I just realized that. Hell yeah.
Oh yeah, because you would have been out at 16.
I was a priest. And at that point, that's when you can start baptizing people, when you're a priest.
Yeah, that's so strange to me.
Mm-hmm. I still am amazed that I've even done it.
Okay, let's try and rewind to like 15, 16-year-old Aidan that's still in the church and still like actively participating.
Okay.
What was the moment like when you did your first baptism? Like in your brain, like what were you thinking?
Oh, I was the cream of the crop. I was the best. I was doing something for God because I wanted to. And you know what? That's a great thing. When you feel like you have a purpose and you want to do it and you're completing it and you've achieved your goal. And at that age, That was my goal. At 16, I wanted to baptize someone because that's what every 16-year-old does.
Yeah.
Is take somebody through baptisms. And then you also do, sacrament. All the kids do sacrament. The moment you get the Aaronic priesthood is when you start sacrament. But yeah, I felt great. And honestly, again, there's a reason why I don't say it now. I would raise my kids inside the church if I didn't have any daughters. If it was just boys, I'd think about it, honestly. Because it felt great. Like, on it, I felt amazing, and I felt like I was doing my job, and I felt like I was a part of a community. And that's huge alone.
I mean,
part of a community.
Explaining that right there, like, I think that's why the religion is still around and as strong as it is, because regardless of what, if you're anti-Mormon or you're pro-Mormon, or you kind of like me, you just love both sides.
I did get the healing buff stat. yeah.
It's nice for me to hear stuff like that, because I'm glad that there's individuals who just feel truly rewarded, because a lot of my experiences have been with individuals who didn't feel rewarded growing up, and now are struggling with it now, trying to figure out their identity.
Yeah,
because it's when you're 18 and now you're starting to question if not only like what you want to do with your life, but now what you want to do religiously. That's overwhelming.
Hell, and when I left, I that was the big reason why my parents were kind of so okay with me leaving, was because I told them, I was like, I'm going to be looking into other religions. I want to be religious, I want to be spiritual, but I don't know if this is the right one. And since I've only been in this one, how can I know that? And they were like, that's a very fair point. Yeah. Go have fun. I looked into Taoism, which, hell, I still believe in. I looked into Confucianism. I looked into paganism. Let's not talk about that. Cringy years of my life. I've looked into a lot of stuff. Hell, I've been to Christmas Mass. I've spent Hanukkah with an Orthodox Jewish family. That's a lot of fun. Yeah. These are a lot of fun, and I can see the joy and the good parts about being in a religious community. But at the end of it all, I said, no, I'm good. I'm going to be agnostic, is what I technically count myself at this point. Yeah. And that's honestly, in lighter terms, it just means I'm on the fence. Right. And, I've only ever talked to one other individual who has taken the time and actually gone and spent hours of their lives with other religions. Yeah. Because I also did that. I went and just spent time with families that I knew who practiced different religions. Yeah. And it was more, for me, it was more entertaining. Not that I went in there like, oh, let's see this craziness, but like, I just love seeing the dynamics of how humans live their lives. And when you go into really religious communities and they open their doors and they're very like happy to explain and everything, there's a joy in it. Yeah. And another thing to make it clear, you won't see any of the crazy stuff. No. That's the whole point. That's this is going to sound anti-Mormon, but that's what a cult does. Yeah. They make it seem very appealing from the outside, and then you get in, that's when they'll drop the bombs on you. Sure. That's when they'll be like, now you have a responsibility to God. Before it was, I get things from God, and that's it. Yeah. Yeah, and until I really noticed the weird red flags, of course I was wearing red tinted glasses, so you never see them, but until I kind of noticed the big ones, especially with, around my school, we had gay kids coming out, and then I was told, they're not allowed to come to church with you. Don't ever invite them. Yeah. Don't. They're going to be going to hell, and so it's just best to stay away from them. I was just like, that's not right, especially since I went to a very weird school. It was one of those, honestly, talk again about the misfits. You know how when they went to school, Fitz, himself, it was a school of pretty much a bunch of homeschool kids. Yeah. It was exactly like that. Oh, okay. A bunch of homeschool kids brought into one building, and then pretty much all the parents in the area volunteer to become the teachers. Yeah. Or they pay teachers, or the school becomes big enough where they do get to pay teachers. And that's what it became. It was a charter school. Yeah, I dealt with people of all creeds, of all areas of... I dealt with the weirdos. The homeschool kids. Right. The homeschool kids. And that was kind of I'm kind of happy that I did kind of get to spend that time with them, because there were also a bunch of Mormons in that school, because everyone is. Most people you know in Utah are going to be Mormon. It's just kind of something you have to accept. The hard part is, the hardest part for me is, especially when kids my age or people my age hit that age, they're going on their missions. And to me, that's a huge step. That's huge. And if you don't know what a mission is, that's, for men, that's 2.5 years where you travel to a random country. They'll say God chose it for you, but it's a random country. And then you preach the word of God to that country and that area. You could be within the States, and I've heard a lot of great stories of people within the States, or you could go to
Chile.
Weird old Russia. I've heard there's multiple stories of missionaries getting killed in countries where they just traveled across borders they shouldn't have. And they ran into criminal warlords. Yep. And
they don't want to hear about your religion.
No, they don't want to hear about your religion. They want you to get off their property.
Yeah.
And you hear all about that. And hell, I haven't gone on a mission, but I'll tell you one right now from my father, if that's okay.
Yeah, of course.
When he was in Chile, at that time, there was a revolution going on. Yeah, a coup was going on at that moment, and he went with his partner, and they were walking up this street, and it was barred off. There were tanks, there were Humvees, there were armed guys sitting across on the other side of this fence, and then they walk up, and they're like, "Hey, we have to go teach a house right up there. We have a sister that would love to hear our word," and they're just like, there's been shooting and gunfire going off over there for the past 45 minutes. And as they were saying that, you're hearing the explosions going on and the gunshots going off. And he's like, my dad himself just goes, I don't care.
Damn, the balls on your dad.
I don't care.
Props to him. I mean.
Yeah, and you hear those stories again within the church, and you're like, wow, I can believe in something like that. I can put my foot behind something with that big of cojones.
Yeah.
But and he went. They let him through, and he went and he taught his sister, which is what they call women inside the church, sisters.
Yeah.
He went up, taught them all, and the whole time they were sitting underneath her island inside her kitchen, because there were bullets coming through her windows. And they taught her, and they said farewell. They walked back down, and they walked away.
I imagine that probably had to have been one of the most religious moments for your dad.
For him.
How do you not come back and be like, wow, we didn't die, we did what we were out here to accomplish?
Hell, I want to hear what the soldiers were thinking with the missionaries walking back down.
Well-dressed, two young, well-dressed men, and just kind of like...
two well-dressed whiteys coming down, just totally fine, totally chillaxed and relaxed. And
isn't it weird to think, though, that if you were to stay in church, you would only be a year into a missionary?
Oh, yeah. No, I wouldn't be out.
That'd be a weird perspective.
I wouldn't be out, and I would be devout.
Yeah.
I would be still very, very much so.
You'd be in the thick of things right now. You could be in...
And hell, man, I've seen dumbasses become great people from their missions. Honestly, I've seen horrible, stupid people become leaders in their group, in their communities, going on a mission. And it's really weird seeing people leave and then come back, because they're totally different people.
100%.
Of course they are. It's
2 years.
2.5 years in a completely exotic environment.
Yeah.
Of course you have to be.
I think, too, and this is me, like, seeing the better side of things. I've seen some individuals who I could tell were super lost. Mm-hmm. And then they decide to take that step and go on their mission, and they're able to find that, like, that peace within themselves, to put it in a corny way, I guess, and truly be able to be like, okay, this is for me. And they're able to, like, stop questioning and move forward, which,
it's a big step. 2.5 years is not something I'm going to let go of lightly.
Yeah.
Like,
I think for a lot of kids, they don't realize that.
Yeah, they'll just go on their mission, and they'll go through their entire mission, and that's the worst stories, is they get an in-state one, or they got the same area they live in. They get a mission within, like, they live in Bountiful, and they get a mission within Salt Lake. So they still live with their parents and go on their mission. Well, actually, I think they go to the MTC in that area.
Right.
But they see their parents, like, every other weekend. And that's, like, to any other missionary, that'd be unheard of, and that'd be weird. But now, and more often nowadays, it's becoming more frequent.
Yeah.
And on those ones, I feel bad, because you'll have those kids that don't really know what they're doing. they'll go on that 2.5-year mission, and they don't change at all. Like nothing changes for them. And then I'm just like, did you really just spend? I think it's $10,000. That is what you need to spend to go on your mission.
Yep.
To come out of you or your family's pocket, and you just wasted it the whole time.
And that part of it is. I think it's one of those things where there's so much pressure too.
Mm-hmm.
You know, how are you supposed to know if you should go or not? But like, oh, everyone's telling you like.
And if you don't go, you're going to go to hell. And if you do go, you're become a better person, and you're going to become a leader in society, and you're going to be rich, and you're going to be. And by the way, is not hard to believe. Most people within the Mormon Church are well off.
Yeah,
they are. So when you continuously hear, you take these steps that they took, you will end up well off like they did. It's hard to say no.
That's the one thing in my life that I wish would have been different, or at least would have learned at an earlier age, is there is definitely a equation that LDS people follow through these men specifically, that they follow to, priest, teacher, go on your mission, come back, knock out your school, have kids, have your family.
You get married before you go to school.
Well,
as soon as you're back from your mission,
you get married,
missionary
go to
marriages.
School. Yeah.
Because
2 months.
By the age of 21, which is the normal age before you went when you were 20.
Yeah.
Was the normal age when you went, and then recently they changed it to 18.
Right.
So before you get back at 22, now you get back at 21.
Yeah.
And that's strange in itself, because imagine your church leader saying, "We are wrong. You need to leave earlier because we are not spreading the word fast enough."
Yep.
It's weird. Makes you kind of start to question things.
Well, and I wonder if there was, I'm sure they keep a lot of records of stuff, if they were losing a lot of people between 18 and 20 that are our age.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The hardest time definitely for somebody to decide whether they're Mormon or not is definitely them going through the singles ward.
Yeah.
I've heard it time and time again. And if you don't know what the singles ward is, I don't know if you've gone through it before.
No. But
it's where you go once you're old enough. I think it's once you're back from your mission. That's where men go. And that's where the women go to start dating.
Yeah.
They date within the Mormon communities.
To find someone to marry.
Yeah. To find somebody Mormon specifically. Because if you don't, and you don't get married in the temple... Ooh.
I think the one thing that's super interesting that I'm actually really excited about is, yours and my generation really not being okay with a lot of bigotry that goes on. Like, because it's obviously a long process, and of course there's kids who are our age who still have problems and still don't understand, but we're really starting to stomp out a lot of things, at least quietly. Things are getting a little bit more accepting. And I really think for the Mormon religion, if they do not start backpedaling on certain beliefs, they're going to see a huge drop off. Because I hate pointing it this way, but I know so many people here in Utah who either are or were LDS that are gay and still don't feel comfortable
being gay.
And that is fucked up.
Oh, imagine being yourself your entire life and being told that is bad.
Yeah.
That is wrong. And even after you either leave the church or you stay in it and don't tell anyone, you now have to spend the rest of your life, or the rest of the time that you choose to, feeling like shit.
Yeah.
Because you know that in that religion you're going to hell.
You want to know why? You want to know how it's still very bad for the Mormon church? Did you know that Elizabeth Smart's dad came out as gay?
I went to school with Elizabeth Smart.
Yeah?
Yeah. I know that whole...
Let's talk about that in a second. So, because I have lots of interesting questions. Yeah. So, I thought that was interesting because that statement got made. That decision happened, and then it hit the media, and then everyone hassled Elizabeth Smart, like, "Oh, what do you think about your dad being gay?" And she's like, "I don't know, I just love my family," which, don't hassle her. That's fucked up.
Yeah.
But then completely brushed under the rug. And now he's not.
You don't talk about him.
You don't talk about him.
And I bet money the church has paid him off.
Yeah.
I bet money the church has paid them off that you're not allowed to talk about it, don't talk about it. If you talk about it, we'll sue you.
Yeah.
I went to school with Elizabeth Smart. I met her. She's very nice.
Yeah.
I think so.
Wait,
No, it wasn't Elizabeth Smart.
No,
I'm so sorry. It is her. It is one of her family members.
Okay, because I was gonna say, wait, the ages don't add up.
Yeah, I know the Smart
member.
family.
Yeah.
I know the whole family there. I know her, not one of her dads, but I think one of her uncles, still a Smart.
Yeah. Was
the school cop for our school.
Oh, no shit.
The bodyguard, yeah. Hated that dude. Oh my God, I want to punch him in the face to this day. That dude gave me so much shit for no good reason. I still don't know why. But, yeah, and when all of that whole issue kind of came out, because I didn't know for the longest amount of time that he was even a part of that. I didn't even know the Smart story. Yeah. Until I was around 16, 17, 18. I didn't even hear about it. And then out of nowhere, I learned that I know people within the Smart family. I know people, hell, I'm close to some people who are very much related to the Smart family. Yeah. And hell, again, Utah, say the name Kingsman and you'll get... Yeah. Yeah. You'll get a whole tribe.
Yeah. That's a good way to put it. That's a whole entire...
You know everybody. Everyone knows everybody.
Yeah.
And that makes it even harder in most cases.
I have to say, like, so True Crime Drunks, shout out. We cover a lot of crime and, kidnapping, serial killers, everything like that. And we did Elizabeth Smart's kidnapping because Utah show might as well do one of the most infamous things that happened in Utah. Yeah. And I read her whole book, and I have to say, she is pretty awesome.
Oh, yeah.
And I have to give her a lot of credit. She's a badass, and I have to give her a lot of credit to go through the horrors that she did and to be able to openly help other individuals who go through shitty situations, to write a book about her trauma, and to just try and live as much of a normal life as she can going through that. That's badass.
That's the wrong kind of famous.
Yeah. It is the wrong kind of famous.
And I feel so sorry for anybody who has to deal with that kind of infamy. Yeah. Which is exactly that. It's infamy.
Yeah, because no matter what, like whenever she goes and does her talks or is on social media, everyone knows that that's the girl who had to go through horrible things.
Horrible things.
But I do have to give her a shout out and just say, like, much respect for doing what you do for communities.
No hate from me.
Yeah, and it's amazing. And I definitely, she talked about a lot of situations in her book, and obviously being Mormon, she talked about how that pretty much was the saving grace, for lack of better words, in her being able to survive that situation. And she talks about a couple of situations that are a couple moments that it seemed like God were talking to her. And whether you believe or not, like, hearing those moments will give you chills because you're like, who knows? But
there's a lot of stuff about Utah, especially with the true crime and the superstitious and the horror aspect, even, especially being raised in the church, knowing about the pioneers and how they trekked across the plains to get here so they could express their religion freely. Yeah. That is something I know about, and that is something that I kind of have ingrained in my brain. Yeah. But then there's also the stories that the pioneers stopped at Skinwalker Ranch. Yeah. And that's when they decided it was time for them to stop moving. And then you're like, Jesus Christ, that's kind of scary. And there's a whole lot to Utah that if I could give you the best adjective is, it's a bubble.
It is. It's a bubble, and it's so interesting because now I think it's so interesting that, like we were talking about earlier, we really have just the most crazy amounts of, like, both sides of living. Yeah. Right? We have devout LDS members that will literally, like,
they will die for their
religion. They will go to war for their religion. They will, do everything to uphold that right. Mm-hmm. And then we have heroin users who crab walk and shit across sandwich places.
Yeah.
And I really, to be honest with you, there was a large portion of my life where I was like, I have to get out of Utah. I just never felt like not that I didn't fit in. I had wonderful friends, but I always felt like if I don't believe in this as much as I do, I should probably not be living here. Because
that's the two fastest things I'll hear from somebody in Utah. It's either I'm staying here for the rest of my life, or I need to get the hell out of Utah as fast as possible. I've heard that countless times.
Yes.
From people who are just like, I don't know how people can handle this religion. And once I leave, I don't know, I kind of judge people on that kind of stuff because me personally, I've traveled a lot.
Yeah.
I've been to a lot of places. I could say I culturally know more than the average dude my age.
Yeah.
I'm happy. I'm glad I can say that. When people say I need to get the hell out of here, I'm like, yeah, go ahead, go on a trip, go somewhere exotic.
Mm-hmm.
But you're not going to find someplace nicer than here.
That's what I was going to get to. So I dabbled in different ventures to try and get out of here. Like I lived in Washington with family for a while. Washington's great.
It's one of my favorite places.
If I had the money, I probably would live there.
Yeah.
But I also went to Texas for a job and lived in Texas. And people who are not LDS that live in Utah and say that they hate it, you are sadly uneducated in what the surrounding areas are like because Utah is not bad.
The only other places I've even come close to noticing people as nice is Washington.
Yep.
Around Everest area. Portland, you're getting the weirdos.
Portland's not great.
And Virginia.
Interesting.
Virginia, if I could choose anywhere to live other than Utah, I'd choose Virginia. Because, man, it is perfect weather all the time. It is pretty green. It's like the perfect old people's home.
Yeah.
I'd love to live there and just relax for the rest of my days. My weary old bones.
See, I always tell a story, like, one of the moments where I realized that, man, Utah might actually be better than what I thought it was, is I was driving through Colorado and stopped in Denver and walking around and venturing and, you know, dabbling in spelunking in particular activities that are associated with Denver.
With Colorado, Denver.
And
the Green Thumbs.
They have this beautiful, like, 3 or 4 story library that, like, there's escalators in and, like, it's just crazy beautiful. And you go outside and when you watch 2 male homeless dudes butt fucking on the corner and you're like, okay. And there's like, everyone's like kind of noticing it, but like everyone's just kind of like, oh, this just happens.
It's the best you can do is turn a blind eye to
it. Because
if you get a part of it, you're now a part of 2 homeless dudes butt fucking.
Yeah, and that was the moment where I was kind of like, okay, well, I've never seen that in Utah. And then like
we do have homeless,
sure,
now,
everywhere
in the Salt Lake area, and man, it's sad.
It is sad.
It's sad to see, and that's the most I can say.
And you're going to see it everywhere. But I do have to say that as much as I don't agree with how we've handled the homeless shelters and stuff in Salt Lake, there are a lot worse places that are struggling way harder than we are.
Yeah.
And it's more visible.
Well, there's a reason why everyone's calling this the new Silicon Valley.
Yep.
Because Salt Lake is the nicest city to be in, period.
Yeah.
No traffic. Rarely ever bad traffic.
Yeah, you're not going to get stuck for hours.
Everything's close by. Mm-hmm. There's a transit inside of it that's perfect, made just for it. It's pretty much like a little Europe within Utah.
What is your favorite drink?
Oh, favorite drink.
Probably just like gas station drink.
What are we talking? Like soda? Are we talking... Okay.
What do you want to drink right now? I think she's bringing drinks.
Right now, I like Dr. Pepper. Love Dr. Pepper. But for like sitting at home, my comfort drink.
Yeah.
You don't need to bring it. Don't bring it. Milk. I know people judge milk drinkers and
what's
they hate
the name?
on us.
Papa Chalky milk to cure the depression.
Yes. Dude, nothing's better than a glass of milk before bed. Hands down, my favorite drink.
I love it.
So good.
Show up with a gallon of milk and just start double fisting.
Dude, and then as our teenage years, man, I'd always go out and buy a gallon of chocolate milk. And when I was roaming the town with the guys, I'd just have a gallon of chocolate milk at my side.
No,
into Sheetz.
Sheetz is apparently one of the best East Coast places for pretty much anything, and I've never been able to find it.
I've never been to Sheetz. I've seen a bunch of new food trucks in this area that are normally in the East Coast, especially near the tire store.
Oh yeah, that's right.
There's a whole bunch of food trucks there. Mm-hmm. There's the Cheezers.
I've heard of it, haven't gone.
Oh my god.
I want to go to that. I think they do it every Saturday up over by the Bountiful
Grilled cheese
Library.
filled with mac and cheese.
Oh, what
Like,
the fuck?
how can that not be good?
Yeah, that sounds amazing.
So,
I miss Dude's Foods. Were you?
Oh, Dude's food.
You want to know why they got kicked out from that old Smith's parking lot?
No.
This is the rumor. I don't know if it's true.
Yeah.
I mean, their food truck is called Dude's Food, so we should probably assume that maybe they partake in. Yeah,
Dude,
that's the kind of
hopefully.
food I want from a Dude's Foods truck.
a man. Okay, I know that's the man at the peak
Yeah,
of culinary.
yeah.
Culinary wisdom.
He's gonna hand me food. And I'm gonna look at it and be like, "What is this?" And he's gonna be like, "Eat it. It's
Shut
delicious."
the fuck up. Put it in your mouth.
I guess the people who have that land are very not cool with that, and went over and they had like a 5-foot bong chilling out by the back of their food truck,
Next
and
to the cooler in the back.
and they were like, "You're not re-signing a contract here," which is so tragic because it's such a great spot.
It was one of my favorite hangout spots.
Yeah.
Hands down.
Because it was Dude's Foods, and then they had that Hawaiian shaved ice shack.
There were a whole bunch of those in Layton.
Yeah.
There was one at the Smith's parking lot, and that was the first time. No, sorry, that was the first time I've ever had to deal with hard narcotics. Was in the back parking lot of a Smith's,
Oh,
and I saw two men just railing lines. And since then, I've always called Smiths sniffs.
Sniffs. I
It's always
love
just
it.
been sniffs.
Like the old Smiths or the new?
the big one in Layton, right next to the
Oh.
Winco.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Right next to the Winco, right up the street from there. That was my. Hell, I've moved around a lot. I spent 6 years up on the house on the hill, and then I spent 4 years down in the condos. Then we went up to Layton, spent 6 years there. I hope my math's right. It's probably not, but
it's fine. So I want to ask you an interesting question.
Yeah.
So you lived very rich for a time period of your life.
Yeah.
How do you look at money as pretty new into like having to work and live on your own? Like, is it your end all be all, like, I want money to be able to achieve the things that I want? Or is money more of like, it's a necessity, but the things I want to do I can probably achieve without being filthy rich?
Yeah, I have no major goal to be filthy rich. I've seen that side and I don't want it. And hell, I still, on my bucket list is to go up to that neighborhood, that area, work in the garden of some random rich person's house, and then just accept me as the gardener. That is dream. I want that to happen and then just get paid famously for doing nothing. I don't know how to garden.
Yeah. They're just like, oh, he's here.
He can mow the lawn.
That's what he's doing a good job. He pulled a couple weeds.
But money to me, definitely one of the most influential moments in my life was I was talking to one of my older relatives, and as like when he was reaching near the end of his life, he was my grandfather. He told me, he was like, "There's no point in saving up money if you're not going to spend it. So don't." Frugality is nice, and it's a great lesson to learn, but don't live by it. And so to this day, I'm not great with my money. I'm the kind of guy, I like to go out and have fun. If I'm going to have money, I'm going to spend it.
Yeah.
I should save more, that's for certain. And I think everyone should save more. But
Sure.
I also believe getting famously rich, extremely wealthy, is also a wealthy game. You got to be wealthy to be wealthy.
Yeah.
And so that's my opinion on it. It's, you can be pulled down from being wealthy, but going back up is a lot harder.
Sure.
Because I've seen that from my parents firsthand. Like, especially since, if nobody knew this, my grandfather, the one I was talking about, he's Peter Prier, the first violin maker in all of America. He was the one first to open the first violin shop in America.
Really?
Yeah. And so that's how we kind of started out so well off, was because my dad then went to France to learn how to make violin bows. And so now my grandpa was the violin maker and my dad was the violin bow maker, and they both had their shops right next to each other.
Wow.
And since we were kind of the only place, it's where you win.
Yeah.
And when I went to that man's funeral, I didn't know he was famous. I didn't know. So when I showed up, it was a church full of people from Tokyo, people from China,
No
people
shit.
from Sweden, people from everywhere, and them all saying, this man has benefited my life in more ways than I can count.
I bet that was an amazing
Yeah,
one. I'm getting
I
the
was
chills.
so confused. I was just like, I knew this man as my grandpa, and he was just this really unsarcastic, like, German man. He's very German.
Yeah.
He came from Germany when he was 12. He sailed across just by himself
Wow.
without his family. And so, like, he doesn't get humor. He doesn't get any of that.
Yeah.
But he's just this 6'5"
Big guy.
huge dude. And he just has that light German accent. And that's what I knew him as this really kind of quiet, funny,
But on
to
the
me.
backside, he was a famous...
super famous. To me, he was hilarious because his humor was so dry. He was the guy who was just like, what happened to the apple? It rolled off the table. Ah! That was him. Like, to a T. And to this day, I love going to Germany and teasing German people.
Yeah.
Because they don't get sarcasm. It's one of my favorite things. But yeah, learning that he was famous and that he was huge in the violin community. And that's the reason why I know how to play the violin. That's the reason why everyone in my family has played a stringed instrument.
Wow.
Yeah, it's... Hell, I need to get that violin back from my brother. I've played for 6 years and then dropped it like it was a hot coal.
Yeah.
Like, I was a kid and I was just like, I don't want to play anymore.
I get it.
And now I look back at it and I'm like, I fucking wish I kept playing.
I think that would be something definitely going into your older age would be a benefit. Because that's one thing that I drastically wish that I would have gotten involved with was any form of music.
Instruments?
Anything. And
Yeah.
it's tough to do now because of time, you know.
And hell, if you want to get into a beat-based sort of instrument like the drums, you gotta have an expensive drum set that you can play silently, or you just have a place that you can be as loud as fucking as loud as a drum set.
Yeah.
And it's real hard to get into instruments kind of after a young age. And I'm so super thankful for my parents for kind of pushing me through that.
Mm-hmm.
I just think violin was the wrong instrument.
I think that's another interesting thing about the LDS community, though, is it's not, I don't know if it's pressured, but
everyone knows how to play piano.
Yeah, everyone knows at least piano, if not more.
If not more. Piano, or there's those guitar kids.
Yep.
We always teased them in high school.
Oh, yeah.
At school. I did violin lessons for a long time. And that's honestly, that's the basis for me now saying, like, because now I want to make music.
Yeah.
I find it really interesting to go into FL Studio and just make beats. Just have fun with it. And that is definitely where my roots are in that kind of area, is me learning the piano. Because if you don't know the piano, you can't make music.
Right.
Sorry, that's just the truth. And so I'm happy, but hell, if I learned drums from the beginning, I think I'd still be with that.
Right.
I've always been very good at beats, but I've always been not that great at tonality.
Well, so I think we're at the portion where we need to start diving into some lighter, funny stuff. Now, I do, before we get too far off topic, I wanted to ask you, because you made a statement saying that, like, when you're like 15, 16, you were like, hey, like, you go to church and like, hey, I'm gonna go smoke weed, like, and everyone was like, hey, we're not gonna do that. Was that, when did you start smoking around that time period?
It was in that same sandwich shop.
Okay.
It was one of my coworkers. She was 4'0" nothing, I think, like pretty much a midget. Oh, sorry, I can't.
Little person.
Little person. I'm so sorry. And just after one of my shifts, she was just like, I'm going to go smoke a bowl. And I'm still Mormon.
Yeah.
But I was just like, you know what? Fuck it. Why not? We go out. We go to one of a very nice park nearby.
Yeah.
And, of course, that's another thing about Bountiful. There are parks everywhere. And no one's watching anything.
No, they don't give a fuck.
No. And we just sat on the steps, and I smoked my first bowl. And Cassie's little brother was there, too. We kind of did everything together at that point in time, but she was the first one to get me into it, and then after that, pot and making sandwiches was kind of a combo.
No?
And once you're kind of in the church and you're into something that kind of everyone else severely judges, it's a great way to kind of back off and kind of look at it from an outside perspective.
So do you think that starting to dabble in pot was also another point of, like, venturing away from it? Or was it already like in motion and then this was just
at that point it was already in motion.
Okay.
But it was a great way to kind of see that all of my mates inside the church would turn on me and tell the bishop in a heartbeat. Because they did.
Yeah.
And that's how my parents figured out. That's how the bishop figured out. That's how the whole church figured out.
That you were smoking.
That I was smoking pot. Was because some of my, at the time, mates just ratted me out.
Damn. Interesting.
Oh, I got some...
You got some dirt on them?
No, I have some interesting stories about getting ratted out on. I've had some very close calls with...
Oh, no.
With the police. My first time ever getting caught by the police with marijuana on me. I was the day before I turned 18. They caught me. It was at school, and so it was the school to decide what happens at that point, and they left it up to the police. And so I went into juvenile court, but I'm not even joking. I went in the day of to juvenile court, and they were just like, okay. They're like getting me set up on how to figure it all out. And then the day afterwards, I get a call, and they're just like, yeah, the case is closed. You're not a juvenile anymore. Nothing we can do. Have fun. Don't talk about it. It won't be on your record.
I mean, that's
that.
Yeah, that's not bad.
I remember they wanted me to spend money, and then after because I wasn't. It was pretty much to pay him off. It was like you either make enough money that your family or you can pay it off, or you do community service.
Yeah.
And I remember I was like, damn it, now I got to save up for all this. And then the day after, they're just like, don't talk about it. And oh shit. Well,
now you know.
Now
the Salty says, who is this guy, Randy Newman? You know who Randy Newman is? Toy Story guy. He doesn't like little people.
Doesn't?
No, I don't know. Just good old
I have no
joke.
issue with them. Some of my best friends have been little people.
Living in Utah, for those of you who are listening out of state, marijuana is still, you could get in a lot of trouble if you have it.
Yeah. Serious trouble. You could get 5 years if you're just in the bad situation.
Yeah.
One, if you are in the Rose Park area and you get caught with it. That's easy. That's easy jail time.
We've had, I don't know, I won't mention his name, but there's been a guest on who's actually himself had a lot of problems with just having marijuana and getting pulled over and having it on him, and it's led him down a lot of trouble. And I feel so bad for him because I'm like, it's literally just pot. He didn't have intention to sell. There was no... The worst part is how they can stack it against you. Because if you have pot on you, less than 2 ounces, that's a singular pot charge. That's minor. Yeah. Honestly, you'll probably just get a fine. Sure. Now, if you have over 2 ounces, which is very easy, ounces. I don't think it's ounces. Is it grams? No, it's... Yeah, it's not ounces. Ounces
is huge. Yeah. I smoke weed. I should know that. It's grams. And so 2 grams, having over that is super easy.
Yeah, you could literally have
over that, you have a distributing charge.
Yeah.
If you have any paraphernalia on you, that's a paraphernalia charge. Hell, if you have tiny bags on you and you have under 2 grams, that's still a distribution charge. Yep. The way they'll stack it against you in this state is ridiculous. Yeah, so what turns into being like, hey, you got like 4 joints that are maybe, I don't know, a quarter O. Should round, I don't know. Let's say you have a quarter O and then maybe you have some paraphernalia or whatever. They can literally put you in jail. Easy. And we're in 2021, this might be the year that they finally make it federally legal, according to a couple of things that I've read. Back to the Mormon church. Fuck them in Prop 14. Yeah, that was a... Fuck them. I'm sorry, that's the one point where I'm just like, screw the church. Screw the church. We do have a dispensary now, which is interesting, and I do know someone... And I do have my card, by the way, if anybody's wondering. Yes. Okay, awesome. So, I am totally legal, like... I just think it's so interesting that we still have a time where like, okay, now you can have weed, but my buddy would get in trouble. Yeah, if I had it on me and I got pulled over, I'd be fucked. I think they eating weed. I think it's a lot more lenient now. I heard more recent stories of people getting caught, and it's just kind of like, hey, we're taking this. Don't do it again. Break your pipe or whatever you have, and then be on your way. But it is one of those things like if you get caught once, and they decide that they want to, write it up, and then you get caught a second or a third time. Repeat charges, that's where it gets really scary. Yeah. Because if I got caught again with it, they would see my juvenile court case, and then that would be a second case. Yep. And a lot of scary stuff can happen on your second
That's when it
case
starts
then.
adding up, and that's when you could either be in a lot of financial trouble or even
So we were talking about lighter topics.
Yeah, sorry. So let's get into the lighter topics of funny stuff. So
they're like pot of greens.
Yeah.
They really are.
Yeah. let's start with
the topic.
No, we'll leave that one for the final.
Okay.
Because I'm sure that won't be a good closing topic.
Okay.
You lost your virginity recently.
Oh, yes. Yes, I have.
I was told to ask about it, and I don't know what demeanor.
And this is a very Mormon thing as well. Losing your virginity is a huge thing to people. It's if you're not Mormon, it's a passage. It's like a rite of passage.
Yeah.
And if you're not in the Mormon community, and if you are in the Mormon community, you would get seriously shunned if you aren't married.
Yeah.
Because sex out of marriage is ridiculous.
Yeah, you don't do that.
Oh.
Bad.
You stop going to church after that. It's that bad. Happened recently. It's been a kind of an inside joke between me, Cass, and Holly for the longest amount of time because they told me as soon as I moved in, there's like, you're losing your virginity while you're living with us. And it happened.
Those sound like some good wingmen. Was it anything to do with them or no?
They met the girl once, and it was very uncomfortable because they're very different people.
Okay.
Cass and Holly, and then the girl.
Oh,
they're
gotcha.
very different people, and I knew they were going to mix like oil and water.
Yeah.
Not in a bad way or like an aggressive way. It's
no,
just like
in like
awkward.
It's
just awkward. It's funny because again in Utah, the person you lose your virginity to, you know them.
Yep.
I've known that person since middle school, easily.
I love it.
Easily, and it was great. Let's just say that it was great.
It was great. Because I don't know. I was just told to bring it up, so I didn't know what the.
It was a very. I didn't know you know. I didn't know you knew. I didn't know that they told you. And so when you brought it up before we went into it, I was just like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah, we're just gonna talk about that. It's not an issue. I'm not like embarrassed or anything. No. It's a rite of passage, and I got through it, and now my roommates can stop calling me a fucking virgin.
True. I mean, it's definitely. I don't know. So I think it depends on when you lose it. Is when like you start getting poked fun at. Yeah. And kind of like the groups that you're in. So I lost mine like right out of high school, kind of similar to you.
Yeah.
I graduated young, so I was July birthday, but I was, instead of being the oldest in my age, I was the youngest in my age. So
I was November, so I was very old.
Yeah. So I graduated at 17, and then I lost mine, I think, when I was 18. So similar to you.
Yeah.
It's a good time.
Especially with roommates that are older than me.
Yeah.
They'll tease me more about it, and I know they're just teasing.
Oh, yeah,
I'm
just giving you shit.
I'm not bothered. But now it's kind of fun because I didn't tell them for the first while when I lost it. Because it's just like, did I? Didn't I? Fuck you guys. You guys tease me about it. I don't have to tell you. And I knew that bothered them for a little bit. But then randomly one day I went, I have to fucking say it. I'm not a virgin anymore. And I said it right in front of them, and they go, ah! And they start clapping and freaking out. And I'm like, yeah, it happened like a month ago.
So I gotta ask, because I haven't talked to anyone about this subject who is more fresh into losing it. Is it okay? And I guess you could look at this as like from a previous LDS standpoint. We can stay on subject. I know.
Does it deserve to be put on a mantle?
Yes, that's kind of what I was going to, because I know for a lot of young men, non-LDS and LDS, it's like you're kind of building up to this point. Whether that be like, on my side, I was non-LDS. I was just always like, well, it's going to happen because like, and I wanted it without even really knowing why I wanted it. And then I know for like some LDS men, it's more of like I want this, but I can't right now. So is it, the question I want to ask is, do you think that waiting until you're either married or in a certain situation is as important as they make it out to be?
I believe it's very, very harmful to the couple, almost always. Because I'm sorry, if you know each other for 16 years and then you get married once he gets right back from his mission, and then you both realize you're both garbage at sex. It's going to make the relationship harder. I'm sorry, but sex is a part of the relationship. It is, and it is a beneficial part, and it should be a beneficial part.
Right.
It should be something you both look forward to. And if it now becomes this burden, especially if you don't use contraceptives, and you have to think, I'm going to have a kid after this, and then I have to have the responsibility of having a kid. I've seen it hurt more than help on multiple occasions.
See, I share the same opinion with you. It's baffling to me to think that not even sex, but not living with your potential partner in any facet before you get married is a wild thought to me. But never having, because like, what if
they get married so young they don't even notice it though?
Yeah,
that's the weird thing.
That's a good point.
You will get, if you live in Utah and you're Mormon, you will get married by 25. That is the latest.
Yeah,
25, 22 most of the time.
And not having sex with your partner before you're married. Now, I'm not saying that it can't work out. Yeah. I know people where it works out great. Yeah. You're very happy on both sides of things. To me, I'm scared for individuals to do that because, like, there is such thing as, like, you know, one person might have a drive that's through the roof, and the other one's like, you know, I'm just not.
Once a month, maybe.
Yeah. And that right there will create so many problems that you just either won't speak about or just struggle to find a common ground to talk about because it's been built up to be such a heavy subject.
Year, I say 3. 3 years. Hell, I ain't having kids till I'm 30, 35. Fuck that.
Yeah. I
after seeing so many people get together so early and then later on get divorced and then completely shunned out of your religion.
Yeah.
You could say it scared me out of getting married so early.
For the longest time, and even part of me on certain aspects of marriage, I was never anti, but I never thought I would get married. Mm-hmm. I'm engaged now, funny enough, but
yeah, bro, congratulations.
It's more not the actual act of like marriage that I want. That has nothing to do with that because I don't like the legal. Why do I need to legally bind?
Yeah, you just love your partner, and that should be the end of that.
That's how I've always felt, and it is like, if you truly love someone enough, you don't need these weird ties to be able to show that. Like, sure, if you just want to call each other husband and wife, that's cool. Yeah. To me, I never understood the concept besides like people making money off of marriage. I mean, tax benefits are great. Sure.
I'm kind of all for, like, I'm not getting legally married to someone, but being married to them emotionally.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm totally for that because I'm sorry. If something goes wrong, I don't even want to think about the money or the issues that can arise from that. I just want it to be a healthy separation.
Yeah.
I want it to be healthy, at least, and I feel like the money is the fastest way to make it just vile and cruel.
Well, and I think, too... Oh, you're okay.
It was popping. Brand new whip just hopped.
You got options? Thank you. Thanks for dropping by. Yeah. We got drinks.
Oh, Dr. Pepper.
Don't drink that super fast because it was my turn. I got shook up.
Got shook up?
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
I think that... No, I think you're exactly right. I don't think that you have to be emotionally... Or, excuse me, you don't have to legally... I also think that's the younger generation. I think that's our generation realizing that because we all know someone who's gone through a divorce and it's been really bad. Or emotionally, financially.
Or if they have a kid, and now the kid, or we've been friends with kids that have parents that have split up.
Yeah.
Almost all of my friends have split up parents.
Yeah.
And so, again, that's another weird part where I have a very happy family and 2 happy, loving parents, and I know they're never going to separate. Those fuckers have gone through too much together. It scares me. But...
Good for them.
And I'm happy for them, but, you know, I can't relate on that point either. Like, it's strange to me that all of my friends have gone through that. What is it about me that attracts those kind of people? And then you think that, and I've come to the decision I don't. It just happens way too often than it should nowadays.
Yeah.
And, yeah, that's...
So to the other question.
Yeah.
Should, like, now that you've had sex... and what sounds like more than just once now.
Yeah.
Is it, if you were to like talk to in like a mentor way to a younger man or woman who have it on this high pedestal,
Yeah.
what would you tell them?
The best fetish in the entire world is seeing pleasure in your partner. Hands down. Hands down. If you get turned on by your partner being turned on,
It's a win.
your sex life will always be fun.
Yep.
And that's that. And hell, if you're into this weird kink, hell, if you're into feet, just sweep your partner off.
What's up, Twitter?
What's up, Twitter?
What's up, Twitter?
What's up, 9gag?
Yeah.
How you doing on there?
I think that is the perfect advice because
There's too many times where either to be turned on, it's got to be at the exception of the partner, or it's got to be at the degradation of the partner. And again, I have no issue if you're into that. Hey,
Sure,
masochism, all of that. Hell yeah, it's hot.
yeah.
I'm into it too. Yeah, I'm right there with you. But easily, if I could tell anybody anything,
Just be into your partner.
just know that if they're enjoying it, you should be enjoying it as well.
Yep.
And
I think too, I've talked about this a couple times. For my age, your age, younger, if you're listening, if you watch porn, you need to understand now that that is not reality.
no.
You might meet a girl where that can become a reality, but I promise you,
And if that's what you want, fuck yeah.
yeah, for sure. But I promise you, if you're going in with the mindset of doing all the things that you see in those videos,
Weird spinning move.
yeah, you're like the South Park episode. You're gonna have a bad time.
Yeah.
Like it's not.
Oh, it's gonna be. Oh, and no matter what, your first time, I'm sorry, it's gonna be uncomfortable. You're gonna have to work through that
Yep.
and
Communicate.
Oh,
Communication's key.
and ears.
Yeah.
Pay attention to the ears more often than you think you would. That's another tip from old Papa Aidan.
I love it,
Dude, ears. I
Dude.
don't know what it is.
We can get on that. That's a whole subject on itself.
Hey, it's not as bad as feet. Not as shunned.
No, ears are a thing for sure. It's gonna be the next trending thing. Is it's gonna be girls like, oh, and I'm gonna be like, oh my,
Just
where's the button?
Oh.
Classic nut button. Wait, I thought all these Japanese animations were educational.
Wait, Boku no Pico's not real?
I wish.
Oh, dream.
So let's get it out of the way. We probably need to close up here in the next 15-ish minutes.
Okay.
How do I get into this? So,
You know what? I'll say it. You know, yes, every 3 years on a consistent basis for the past 8-9 years of my life. So it's happened 3 times now. Every 3 years, like time, like a clock. My dick sheds.
okay. Now, I have lots of questions.
Okay.
Now, are we talking like, you know, when you see a snake shed and you like,
It doesn't all come off at once.
okay,
It starts off as like you can just tell the skin's getting dry and wrinkly,
okay,
and then it kind of becomes scaly.
okay,
That sounds nasty.
okay.
And God damn it, I hope it never happens again, so I never have to talk about this again. But like for the next day and a half, you just pull skin off, and I'm gonna tell you right now, my dick has never been softer than after pulling that skin off. You get a soft dick.
Okay.
Like I'm talking no lube, no nothing. You can just go at it.
Okay. Now, you haven't gone to a doctor.
Oh, are you sure you have 15 minutes left? Cause I can.
No, yeah.
We got a huge topic there on me. I have anti-vax parents.
Oh, okay.
So that's another reason why I don't go to the doctor often. The last time I went to the doctor, it was because I had an eating disorder
Okay.
as a kid. I don't even know what it's called, but they thought it was cancer.
Oh, shit.
It wasn't. They just gave me some weird stuff to put in my drink, and then I drank it in water every day for like a month. And then they're like, no, you're just a dumbass, and you're eating, and then you're forcing yourself not to throw up.
Okay.
I had a morbid fear of throwing up.
Gotcha.
That's the last time I've been to the hospital, and that was when I was 8, 7, around there.
Okay.
I haven't been to the hospital since. I've been to the dentist,
Sure.
but I've been raised thinking modern medicine is a burden to society.
Okay. If you will be open to having a part 2, we can dabble in that.
We definitely can.
Now, I need some more information.
Oh, yes, about that. I'm sorry, yes.
So, 3 times it's happened
3
on
times
a regular basis.
Every 3 years.
Okay, so to me that doesn't sound like it's anything serious because it would happen.
If it was, it would have been painful, and it
Yeah.
hasn't been so. It gets itchy for like a day,
Okay.
and then that's it. Like, it's not a big a deal, but the way I broached it to Cass, Holly, and Allie, I believe.
Shouts out, Allie.
Shouts out, Allie. This was like my 6th day living with them, and I walk out just like in gym shorts and a tank top, and I just look at them and I'm like, guys, tell me if this is weird, but my dick sheds. And they just all burst out laughing and teased me and made fun of me because they were like, you got snake dick. And I was like,
I think that had to have been very close to when the next time we had our book club together,
I
because
think so.
that had to have been when it got brought up.
You guys had book club the next day. I remember this
Yeah,
specifically.
okay.
You guys had book club the very next day.
Because that's when it got brought up, and I was
Cass
like,
and Holly came up to me afterwards, and that's the first time I ever heard your name.
yeah.
Was when they're just like, we told Wes about your dick. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, I don't know Wes.
I know. I was kind of, because I had heard of you prior to that, and I think it was just like, oh, new roommate. Because actually, in a weird roundabout way, I almost became that new roommate.
Mm-hmm.
And I just, through certain reasons, I just didn't want to put them in a situation that I couldn't give them a long period of time just in case. So then I found out that you were going to move in. I'm like, oh, cool. Like, I don't know you, but at least you guys found a roommate.
I swooped in. Sorry about that.
No. I refused. I couldn't do it.
Okay.
And then the next thing I think I hear is the pocket pussy being set up to scare, which
I don't think Holly believes I set it up. I think she thought I used it and then forgot it in the bathroom.
I think so. That's what she did.
I have used it once. Never again.
Yeah.
It's too much upkeep. I don't understand. I don't get it. Do not recommend.
No. It's for everyone who's thinking like it's going to be great. It's great for that one time, and then you realize like there's a whole process. Like now I have to go like...
Now I have my shamanic ritual of going to the bathroom with this...
Just jiggly
guilt.
Fucking... Yeah. That post-night guilt was already bad enough, and now I have to do another
Now I have
process.
physical proof that it's there.
And I have to go like rinse it out. Do I rinse it out in the sink? Do I
or
fucking
do
put
it
it
in the shower? Like,
They need to make them like dishwasher safe, and I'm just gonna pop that thing in the dishwasher. And
But that story specifically, I remember I showed Cass and Holly that I had one. I remember I like came out swinging it. Because it's one of those super elastic ones. And I was just swinging it around. And they couldn't stop laughing. And then the next day, that night, like at 4 a.m., I was just like, it'd be fucking hilarious if I just left it in the bathroom.
right.
I put it in the corner of our shower. So as you open up the shower curtain, it is staring you in the face. Like it is right there. And I was there. I heard the moment she opened up the shower curtain and Holly screamed.
Oh my god, that's so great.
And she was like, Aidan! Aidan! She was freaking out trying to get me into the bathroom. And I was like, what? What? I was barely awake. And she's like, you left something in the bathroom. And I was like, oh, I'm happy you found it. And she, to this day, I don't think she believes I actually left it in there on purpose. I think, you know what? I'll have to deal with that.
Even if it...
Even if it was, it's a great story.
Yeah, it's still a great story. Now, I guess I don't have any questions with the dick skin, and I just wanted to know the story. Okay,
Yeah.
first time it happened.
I was mortified. Okay, because I was very young.
Yeah.
Very young. And that was the day after I first. Because, as a kid, you don't really know how to wash yourself. It was
Yeah.
the first time I washed my dick.
Like actively,
Like, actively, explored it,
Okay.
And I'm not saying, like, I masturbated or anything.
No,
I'm saying,
no.
like, I washed it for the first time, and I thought that was the reason why.
Oh, fuck.
I thought that was the reason why, that I just like left soap on there and it was just dried soap.
Okay.
That's what I thought from the beginning. And then after that, it happened one more time. And it happened again right after I thoroughly washed my penis. And I was like, you know what? This is skin. This isn't soap. It doesn't wash off. This isn't... I don't think that's the reason. And then again, it happened on the third year, on the anniversary of it happening the last time. And I was like, oh, okay, so this is a normal thing, I guess? Is it...
It's so strange that it's a 3-year...
Yeah, if it was eczema, it would come up more often. I've done the research in like what it could be. I have no idea. I think my dick just, self-sheds for its own comfort.
For its own comfort.
Dude, you'll never have a softer dick in your life. I'm telling you right now. You won't regret it. You won't regret it. Somehow, if you get it, just live it out.
I love to think that it's like a genetic mutation that your dick just wants to be soft.
I'll accept it. I'll take that. I'll take that. You know where some people can't do this? My dick just sheds.
Self-exfoliating. Oh my god, that's going to be
that.
so funny. Like
50 years from now, we hear more and more stories of it.
Well, not only that, but like if you started like dating someone seriously and the first time it happens, you're like, hey, guess what?
Well, you can't see my penis for the next 2 days.
Yeah, we need a break, but after... the softest thing you felt.
You will like to knead it in your hands for hours. Okay? I'm just gonna tell you right now, it's gonna be like one of those fidget things. You're just gonna want to play with it for hours.
Oh my god, you just spit coffee everywhere.
You're welcome.
Oh my god. You see? That's so great.
That's coming from experience, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, you want to knead it in your hands for hours.
Oh my god.
Oh, and that's the best part too, because it's like itchy for 2 days, and
Yeah.
it's hell. I'll tell you right now, it's not bad, but it's just. They want to know if you've had
The shed. It's your yearly shed.
It's only within the Mormon community. We've inbred so much, we have shedding days. Oh,
Yeah,
just ask the Kingsmen, man.
Oh yeah, they know. And they're never mind. I was gonna make some.
I'm
more.
the chosen one. For what?
Riley Reid.
Ooh, I wouldn't turn it down.
Can I tell you one of the most disappointing moments of my life?
Okay, if it has something to do with Riley Reid,
It does.
Oh,
Storm Area 51.
okay.
I'm there.
Really?
Where I went.
Okay. Was it as cringy as everyone said it was?
Yeah,
Or was it just fun? Was it just kind of like a fest?
it was a festival. Yeah,
Okay.
for sure. Show up. I can't remember. So we had drove out and we were trying to check social media. So we drove out on the Friday. So it was supposed to happen that weekend.
Yeah.
We drove out Friday and we got to like around Reno-ish, heading towards Vegas.
Okay.
And we were like, do we just go to Vegas and have like a night,
yeah.
like spend a night there and then go out there the next day, or do we go out there? So we ended up going to Vegas. Funny enough, if you know who Forrest is, I don't know if you do, he used to be my co-host.
I've seen him.
He would have had the opportunity if he wanted to potentially have sex with what's that Old Town Roads guy? Lil Nas X. Now I say that like jokingly, but I guess the story went. So I was kind of like a grumpy asshole, and I went upstairs and just wanted to relax.
Yeah.
They wanted to go grab some drinks. When they left the elevator, they saw him, and he looked like he was kind of like pointing at Forrest and kind of like doing some dance moves.
Yeah.
And
He's
Forrest
getting
didn't know
into
what to do. He panicked because this was like height of Little Town Roads. Thought that was funny. Okay.
Oh,
We go out.
that is disappointing.
Yeah.
God damn.
We go out to Area 51 the next day, and it's basically like where Little Alien Inn is at. There's a bunch of like shops, like little pop-ups, like
Yeah.
people selling merch and shit.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a stage, and then cars were parked, and everyone was just kind of mingling and hanging out.
Yeah.
And I wish I got this guy's name. One of the funniest fucking dudes shows up, just drunk as shit, and he's just cracking jokes how he's an incel and like how he's trying to go fuck this girl over by this fire, but
This
he
man
just
is
can't.
Reddit incarnate.
it was
Jesus
literally
Christ.
he was literally a Reddit thread. It was great. And he's all like, "Did you guys see Riley?" And we're like, "What?" I'm like, "Oh, you missed it. She was just here like 20 minutes ago taking pictures and walking down in pretty much no clothes, in alien clothes." And we're like, "What?"
You're joking. Oh.
And he had a picture of him hanging out with, he had a picture of fucking Riley Reid, and I guess she had been there for like 2 or 3 hours just chilling with everyone.
Just hanging out?
Yeah. And I'm like, of course nothing would happen.
Yeah.
But a picture with her would have been dope as shit.
But a chance is a chance is a chance is a
right,
chance.
a chance I'm never gonna get. I mean, you gotta shoot your shot.
Oh, if you don't, I'd be disappointed.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
if you're gonna see Riley Reid, you gotta take your shot. Now, here's what I'm gonna say. I'm in a younger, not generation. We're still a part of the same generation, I'd say, but we do have different age cultures.
Yeah.
Your guys' Riley Reid is our, what's her name?
Summer
That one.
Yeah.
I just did an Ahigo face for Twitch. You're welcome.
Yeah.
What's her name? She's the one that just did the porn video on Christmas. Her first ever porn video. Oh, come on, Twitch chat, you got this.
Bathwater?
Yes.
Yeah.
What's her name? I can't believe it.
I think she's falling out of obscurity.
After you see it,
Yeah.
makeup comes off.
Yeah. You're just kind of like, I've been waiting this moment for like 3 years now, and then
For
you're
my
like,
entire teenage life.
and then you're like, oh.
Belle Delphine,
Yeah.
thank you. Oh my gosh.
You're right, Bieber. She was down there because that was her fan base. All the Reddit memer
But I'd
kids.
say, like, your guys' Riley Reid is our Belle Delphine. Or even then, it's still Belle Delphine to you guys.
Yeah. I would say your generation, the one that always pops up is the one that's on TikTok a bunch.
It's a guilty pleasure of mine. I have a funny TikTok and some sexy shit on there. Come on, I can't not. But
Thirst traps happen.
And I don't swipe away instantly. And you can't judge me for that, okay? I remember when I first heard about TikTok, I was like, oh, that's so cringy. That's so garbage. I'm never gonna get that.
Yeah.
And then I was like, you know what? I did fine. Fuck it. I'll do TikTok.
Mm-hmm. TikTok's actually really good.
It's not bad. I have a lot of funny stuff on my TikTok.
Everyone who wants to shit talk TikTok just wants to seem cool nowadays.
It means they don't use it.
It's a good site. But
Or it means they've never used it.
2 hours in, we're gonna call it for now.
Okay.
It's been a pleasure meeting you.
I've had a lot of fun.
It was a lot better than, man. I had expectations, and they were blown out of the water.
Yes.
So
that's all I wanted.
let's just say that.
That's all I wanted.
I'm gonna close out by doing my just ad read, guys. We're sponsored for the ones who are listening now. Hepius, #1 place for premium CBD that's not going to break the bank, cheaper than all the competitors, locally owned and sourced in Utah, and it is safe for work, meaning there's no THC. You don't have to stress about any of that. They have something for everyone, and I'm personally using the #2 brand. It's a broad spectrum, makes me feel great, focused, love it. Head over to
Do they have a local place? Like an actual store?
online.
Online.
Yep.
Okay.
Hepiusmed.com, HEPIUSMED.com. And for the rest of the night, I have another show starting up here in about 30 minutes. So stay tuned. And do you have any social media you want to shout out? I know you're not really.
No, I'm not major into social media. I'm just happy to talk.
All right, perfect. Well, I'm sure the audience loved you as much as I do.
Twitch.tv/airplanefood94.
Let's go. Go follow twitch.tv/airplanefood94.
Stream Dota, stream pretty much anything I can play with friends, Apex, stuff like that for fun.
Perfect. And I'll make sure we'll figure out schedule-wise and get you back for part 2.
Good. Glad to hear it.
All right. Thank you guys so much for hanging out. I'll be back in a little bit. Bye.